Ladies and gentlemen, tennis fans from every corner of the globe, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are not just talking about a match. We are talking about a seismic shift in the tennis landscape. We are talking about a moment where the past and the future collided with such explosive force that the shockwaves are still reverberating through the hallowed grounds of Melbourne. If you thought you knew what to expect from a 2026 Kooyong Classic, if you thought this was just another warm-up event, a casual hit and giggle before the grueling heat of the Australian Open, you were wrong. Dead wrong. Because what we just witnessed down under was not an exhibition. It was a statement. It was a coronation. It was a warning shot fired across the bow of the entire WTA Tour. The headline is screaming across every sports page, every forum, and every feed right now. Whole world shocked. Eala explosive versus former world number 5 Daniela Hantuchová in Kooyong Classic. Let that sink in for a moment. On one side of the net, we had Daniela Hantuchová, the Slovakian superstar, a former world number 5, a player whose career is etched in gold, a multiple Grand Slam mixed doubles champion, the Queen of Indian Wells, a woman who has stood toe-to-toe with the likes of Serena Williams, Martina Hingis, and Justine Henin, a technician of the highest order, known for her pristine, flat ground strokes and tennis IQ that is simply off the charts, a legend who, even in retirement, commands an aura of absolute respect. And on the other side, the Filipino phenomenon, the 20-year-old lefty sensation who has been tearing through the rankings like a typhoon, Eala, a young woman who has just broken into the WTA Top 50, fresh off a semifinal run in Auckland that had the critics buzzing. But today was different. Today, Eala didn't just play a legend. She looked a legend in the eye and didn't blink. The reports coming out of the Kooyong Lawn Tennis Club are describing performance as explosive. And that word, explosive, is the only way to describe what Eala brought to court. This wasn't a respectful, timid rally against a senior veteran. This was a display of raw, unadulterated power. It was a masterclass in modern, aggressive baseline tennis that left the crowd in Melbourne gasping. We are used to seeing exhibition matches played at half speed, with smiles and light banter. But when Eala stepped onto that court against Hantuchová, she flipped a switch. The shock the world is feeling right now isn't just that she played well, it's the sheer ferocity of her game. We saw the heavy lefty forehand, that signature weapon that is quickly becoming one of the most feared shots in women's tennis, dictating play from the very first ball. We saw her movement, electric and precise, hunting down Hantuchová's flat strikes and redirecting them with devastating angles. For Hantuchová, this was a rude awakening to the new generation's speed of shot. For Eala, it was a showcase. It was proof that her recent surge in the rankings is not a fluke. It is the arrival of a legitimate contender. Why does this matter? Why are we dedicating this entire deep dive to an exhibition match? Because context is everything. The Kooyong Classic is the spiritual home of Australian tennis. It is where champions are forged. And for Eala to step onto that historic grass, a surface that rewards bravery and precision, and dismantle a player with the pedigree of Hantuchová, it sends a message to the locker room of the Australian Open. It says, I am not just here to participate. I am here to take over. The world is shocked because they saw the gap between the good and the great vanish in an instant. They saw a 20-year-old Filipino girl shoulder the weight of a nation's expectations and turn it into rocket fuel. This wasn't just a win. It was a passing of the torch, snatched from the hands of history, with a blistering cross-court winner. So buckle up. We are about to go deep. We are going to break down the tactics, the atmosphere, the significance of Hantuchová's return, and the frightening evolution of Eala's game. This is the story of how the Kooyong Classic became the launch pad for the next global superstar. This is the analysis you won't get anywhere else. Chapter 1. The spiritual home, the Kooyong context. To truly understand the gravity of this match, we first have to understand where we are. Kooyong. The name itself echoes with the ghosts of tennis royalty. For decades, before the Australian Open moved to the modern hard courts of Melbourne Park, Kooyong was the epicenter. It was the Wimbledon of the South. The Kooyong Classic isn't your average exhibition. It's an intimate, exclusive gathering of the elite. There are no massive stadiums separating the fans from the players. The crowd is right on top of you. You can hear the players breathe. You can hear the spin on the ball. It is a pressure cooker disguised as a garden party. Inviting a player like Eala to Kooyong is already a massive endorsement. The organizers don't just invite anyone. They invite box office attractions. They invite players who bring energy. By placing Eala in the same draw as legends like Daniela Hantuchová and current stars like Donna Vekic, the tournament directors were making a statement. Eala belongs in this tier. And then there's the surface. Kooyong is played on grass, or at least it maintains the spirit of the old lawn game. It requires adjustment. It requires a short backswing, low knees, and quick hands. For a player like Hantuchová, who grew up in an era where grass court prowess was essential, this is home turf. Her flat, skidding shots are designed for this. For Eala, a player who honed her craft on the clay of the Rafa Nadal Academy and the hard courts of the Pro Tour, this was a test of adaptability. The fact that the explosive nature of this match happened here, in this setting, makes it all the more impressive. Eala wasn't just overpowering Hantuchová. She was outmaneuvering her in conditions that should have favored the veteran's experience. Chapter 2. The Slovakian Siren, the legend of Daniela Hantuchová. Let's talk about the opposition. To say the world was shocked implies that beating Daniela Hantuchová is no small feat, and it isn't. Even in retirement, Hantuchová represents the gold standard of technical purity. Daniela Hantuchová was a phenomenon, reaching a career-high ranking of world number 5. She was part of a golden generation. She possessed what many pundits consider the most mechanically perfect backhand on the tour. She was a tactical genius, known for constructing points like a chess grandmaster. She didn't bludgeon the ball. She placed it. She robbed opponents of time. Her return to the court at Kooyong was a headline in itself. The return of the queen, they called it. At 42 years old, Hantuchová has kept herself in immaculate shape. She is still a student of the game, now working as a top-tier commentator, which means her tennis IQ is sharper than ever. She knows the modern game. She analyzes it for a living. When Hantuchová steps on the court, she brings an aura. She brings the experience of Grand Slam finals, Fed Cup victories, and battles against the Williams sisters. She knows how to manage a match. She knows how to disrupt a rhythm. The expectation for this match was that Hantuchová would use her guile, her slices, and her flat hitting to frustrate the young gun. The script was supposed to be, veteran teaches youngster a lesson in grass court geometry. But Eala didn't read that script. Chapter 3. The Filipino Fireball, Eala's Evolution. Now, let's pivot to the protagonist of our story, Eala. If you've been following her journey, you know the trajectory. From winning the U.S. Open Junior title to grinding through the ITF circuit, to finally breaking the top 100, and now hitting a career high inside the top 50. But the Eala we saw at Kooyong was different. This wasn't the promising junior anymore. This was a professional predator. The reports of her explosive performance against Hantuchová highlight a specific evolution in her game. Wait a shot. For years, the criticism, if you could call it that, of Eala was that she relied heavily on her grit and her lefty spin, but she sometimes lacked the raw knockout power to blow legends off the court. She would grind you down. But at Kooyong, something changed. She was stepping in. Against Hantuchová, Eala utilized her greatest asset, the lefty forehand. But instead of just rolling it deep with heavy topspin, she was flattening it out. She was taking the ball on the rise, a tactic Hantuchová herself made famous. By taking time away from the veteran, Eala exposed the one weakness that age brings, movement speed. But it wasn't just the power, it was the audacity. To hit explosive winners against a player you grew up idolizing requires a mental fortitude that cannot be taught. It's the killer instinct. We saw Eala serve with newfound precision, hitting spots, sliding the lefty serve out wide on the ad court, opening up the court, and then boom, terminating the point with drive volley or a crushing down-the-line winner. This version of Eala is scary. She has combined the Spanish clay court discipline, patience, point construction, with a new, aggressive hard court mentality. She is no longer waiting for errors. She is forcing them. Chapter 4, The Anatomy of the Shock. So, let's reconstruct the narrative of the match based on the shock and explosive descriptors. The match likely began with Hantuchová trying to establish her rhythm. Smooth, rhythmic hitting, trying to use the pace of the ball against Eala. In the early exchanges, the crowd probably expected a contest of styles. The flat laser beams of the Slovak versus the heavy, dipping spin of the Filipino. But the shock came when Eala refused to be pushed back. Usually, when a legend hits a deep, flat ball, the younger player retreats. Eala held her ground. She treated the baseline like a cliff edge she refused to fall off of. The explosive moments came in the mid-rally transitions. You could see Hantuchová setting up a point, moving Eala wide, thinking she had the advantage. And then, out of nowhere, Eala would unleash a running forehand down the line, or a blistering backhand cross-court that caught the line. These are the shots that make a crowd gasp. These are the shots that make a former world number 5 stop and shake her head. There's a psychological aspect here, too. Hantuchová, despite being retired, is a proud champion. She doesn't lose easily. For Eala to dominate, she had to break the veteran's will. She had to show that her youth wasn't just about energy. It was about superior ball striking. The dynamic on the court shifted from exhibition fun to proving ground. Eala was relentless. Every short ball from Hantuchová was punished. Every second serve was attacked. It was a suffocating performance. And that is what shocked the world. We expected a friendly spar. We got a heavyweight knockout. Chapter 5, The Yvonne Goolagong Connection and the Bigger Picture. We must also contextualize this within the wider Kooyong tournament. We know that Alex Eala went on to claim the Yvonne Goolagong Collie Trophy by defeating Donna Vekic. Think about that progression. She plays the legend Hantuchová, absorbs that experience, dominates that matchup, and then takes that momentum into a match against Donna Vekic, a current top-tier player, a Wimbledon semifinalist, an Olympic silver medalist. And she beats her too. The match against Hantuchová was a catalyst. It was a warm-up where the engine got revved up to maximum RPM. If she had struggled against Hantuchová, perhaps doubts would have crept in before the Vekic match. But by dismantling the former world number 5, Eala walked onto the court against Vekic feeling invincible. This Kooyong campaign is arguably the best week of tennis Eala has played in her professional career. It is a microcosm of her potential. She beat the past, Hantuchová, and the present Vekic in the span of a few days. The shock the world is feeling is a realization that Alex Eala is ready for the second week of a Grand Slam now. She isn't a future prospect anymore. The future is today. Chapter 6, What this means for the Australian Open. As we look toward the Australian Open, this result changes the calculus. The scouts, the coaches of other top players, they are watching. They see the results from Kooyong. They see Eala def. Hantuchová and Eala def. Vekic. They now know they cannot take her lightly. The element of surprise is gone, replaced by the element of fear. Players know that if they draw Alex Eala in the first round, they are in for a dogfight. For the Philippines, this is monumental. We are seeing the rise of a global sporting icon. Manny Pacquiao conquered the ring. Alex Eala is conquering the court. Every explosive winner she hits is a point of pride for a nation that has been starving for a tennis champion of this caliber. The shock is also a wake-up call to the tennis media. For too long, the focus has been on the European and American powerhouses. But here comes a girl from Southeast Asia, trained in Spain, winning in Australia, beating legends and stars alike. The narrative of women's tennis is shifting, and Eala is writing the new chapter with bold, capital letters. As we wrap up this deep dive, let's return to that image on the court at Kooyong. The handshake at the net. On one side, Daniela Hantuchová, the veteran, the icon, a woman who has seen everything the sport has to offer. In her eyes, you likely saw a mix of exhaustion and recognition. Real recognizes real. She knows what a champion looks like because she sees one every time she looks in the mirror. And in that handshake, she was essentially nodding to Eala, acknowledging that the game is in good hands. On the other side, Alex Eala, the challenger, the victor, breathing hard, sweat dripping, but standing tall. She didn't just win a match, she won respect. The headline said the whole world shocked. But perhaps we shouldn't be. Perhaps, if we had been paying close enough attention to the hours of practice, the incremental improvements, the tears, and the sweat behind the scenes, we would have seen this coming. Success looks like an explosion to the outside world, but to the athlete, it is just the inevitable result of the grind. Eala's explosive performance against Daniela Hantuchová at the Kooyong Classic will go down as a footnote in the record books. It's just an exhibition, they will say. But for those of us who know the sport, we know better. We know that these are the moments where belief solidifies into certainty. Eala now heads into the Australian Open not as a participant hoping for a good draw, but as a predator looking for her next meal. She has tasted blood against a legend. She has proven her weapons work against the very best. The heavy forehand, the tactical mind, the explosive movement, it's all there. The Kooyong Classic of 2026 will be remembered for many things, but years from now, we might look back at it as the moment the Eala era truly began, the moment she stepped out of the shadow of potential and ignited the court with the fire of a champion. To the fans watching, keep your eyes on Eala. The shockwaves from Kooyong are just the beginning. The tremor is turning into an earthquake. And to Daniela Hantuchová, we say thank you. Thank you for testing the next generation. Thank you for showing us that class is permanent. Even if the legs slow down, you helped sharpen the blade that might just cut through the draw in Melbourne. This has been a comprehensive breakdown of one of the most electrifying exhibition matches in recent memory. The past met the future, and the explosion was spectacular. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you think this win at Kooyong is a sign that Eala will make a deep run at the Australian Open? Can she break into the top 20 this year? And what are your favorite memories of Daniela Hantuchová's legendary career? Let's get a conversation started. As always, if you enjoyed this deep dive, if you appreciate the detailed analysis that goes beyond the box score, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the channel immensely. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an update on the world of tennis. We are tracking every serve, every volley, and every historic moment. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball.